Hi, this is David DeSilva from Archer. I'm here in Kansas City, Missouri at The Scene on a tour with for Culling the Week, the new album coming out. I'm just going to break down some of my gear here and just tell you my approach to everything. So on the bass here I got the Warwick Streamer LX. This is a custom, it has the maple body Seymour Duncan bassline pickups. You have bass treble mid, there's your pickup selector right here on the bottom of the stack knob, and then your volume. What I usually do is I roll back a little bit, about 25% on my mids. I slightly favor the front pickup, but only barely, and that gives me the tone on the bass that I want. As far as my settings on the amp itself, first off I use the Ampeg B4R 1000 watt solid state. I'm personally, for bass, I believe the solid state is the best tone. That way you can kind of boost the gain a little bit without getting overdrive, like what happens on tube. Usually I have the extreme mids and extreme lows kind of dipped a little bit, and then kind of a little bit of mids in the middle, and then bringing up a little bit of the highs and a little bit of the lows on the very end, just to kind of round it out so it doesn't sound too mid-rangey. On the knobs themselves, I bring up the bass quite a bit, like to have a nice boom to it, but I also bring up the low mids so it can cut back the treble a little bit, because it is a bass after all. And that's about it. The balance and the basic EQ is flat, and that's about it.
Hey guys, Dylan here from Archer, sitting here in Kansas City getting ready to play The Scene tonight. We're going to go over a little bit of the gear while we have a moment here. So, we'll start with the guitars, the most important part, right? This is my main guitar, had it since I was 18, my favorite thing in the whole world here. This is an Epiphone Elitist series from a few years ago, and the body is what it is. It's been like this the whole time. A lot of things have been swapped out over the years, but it has kind of evolved and been my baby the whole time. This is a Elitist Les Paul Custom, formerly very, very white. Now it's kind of turning into cream a little bit. Let's see, where do I begin? Gibson Burstbucker Pro pickups, a matched pair here. I love them, they sound great. Tried a lot of pickups over the years, but these guys are really tight, really focused, and have a lot of that, you know, that classic growl to it, not too abrasive. Been trying the Tone Pros tailpiece lately that I got on the last run this year. Very cool. Gibson Bridge, gone through about 3 of these things, but it's not their fault. It's because I just corrode them with too much sweat. Got gold knobs on here. I think it came with black. Had it refretted a few times. What else? Oh, put a bone nut on here after the plastic one eventually chipped off, after I whacked it into something. And I'm on my second set of tuners as well. But this thing endures, and it sounds amazing, so this is number 1 for sure. Alright, next up here, bring one other backup all the time. Another Les Paul, big surprise, right? This one's really sexy looking, I love this thing. This is a 70s blackback custom. Black on the back and sides, classic Randy Rhoads cream on the top. Nothing sexier than that, right? This thing is completely stock. Except these ones are Gibson Burstbucker Pros again, but everything else is exactly the same as it came, and this is a wonderful guitar as well. I use it on a lot of stuff at home as well. Alright, those are mainly the guitars I use during the set. Now let's check out the pedals here. So, I'm pretty minimalist when it comes to pedals, as you can see. Everybody's got a tuner, of course. The Tube Screamer, for obvious reasons, give you a little extra juice during the solo, or just to kind of beef up the tone of the amp just consistently throughout the night. I don't, you know, as you can see, I don't dime out all these settings or anything. If you roll the tone too far to the right, it's just too harsh to my ears. And then you got to balance the level each night, just you know, depending on the house and your stage volume and such. And then the drive, you know, if you give it about 3/4 or so, that's usually enough. If you dime it all the way out, it's just too gnarly. Okay, then of course a wah. This is just a GCB 95 Classic Crybaby. Nothing fancy. I use it maybe on 1 song a night, unless I forget to, and then it just sits there. I also like the Dimebag wah from Dunlop, although it's having some issues right now, so it's at home getting fixed. This is my substitute right now. And then lastly, this guy I just picked up before we left on tour, Digitech Whammy. For those of you that know this pedal, it's a crazy funky thing. I haven't even found a purpose for it in the live set yet, but sometimes you got to bring out a new toy and see what happens during sound check. So that's the extent of the pedals, not too much. Alright, lastly, we go over to the rig here. I've also had this amp for a long time. I'm going to get out of the light here. Marshall JCM 2000 is a triple super lead 100 watt, so the TSL 100. Had this for many years, got it around the same time as the first guitar I showed you. As you can tell, the reverb still works, so we're in business. This guy is a 1960 slant cabs, the 1960A, classic cabs. Most guys that use Marshalls end up dealing with this cab at some point. And pretty basic setup, you know? I mean, depending on the size of the place, sometimes we have another extra cab or two, but, you know, as long as we get it mic'd up and we got everything how we want it, then we don't need to blow it out with too many cabs. So just a half stack for tonight. And as far as the settings and stuff, I almost exclusively leave it on the lead channel. It seems to have a little better saturation, a little less brittle than the crunch channel, and then we don't use clean at all. We're playing heavy metal all night. So that's the rig, man. Again, this is Dylan from Archer. Thanks for checking out Gear Gods. Peace.
This is Courtney from I Wrestled a Bear Once, and you're geeking out to Gear Gods.
This is Mike from I Wrestled a Bear Once, and you're geeking out to Gear Gods.
I'm Mike Stringer from I Wrestled a Bear Once, and you're geeking out to Gear Gods.
I'm Rick Shaw, and I play in I Wrestled a Bear Once, and you are geeking out with Gear Gods.